Another political show, and today we're going to be discussing the disturbing incidents of Israel's attack on Iran. And with me to do that discussion is Mustafa Jinadu and Daniel Falcon. You guys are welcome to the show.
Okay, welcome. So we'll start with, we all know what's going on. Israel struck some sites in Iran, which were basically military, killed some generals, killed some nuclear scientists. And all of this is under the pretext that Iran is developing their nuclear program. But I think all of us know that that's a bunch of BS. What's really going on here goes back to as far back as 2009. The United States has targeted Iran to destabilize them and to have a regime change. And from what we've seen with a lot of the documents that have come out and from a lot of the views of other geopolitical analysts, what they're trying to do is to lure Iran to getting hot-headed and to do it, making a response that would lead the U.S. to come into this war so that they can do a regime change. And the broader picture is to destabilize Iran. They've destabilized Syria. They've destabilized Libya. They've destabilized Iraq decades ago. And they're destabilizing Lebanon. If people can remember Afolabi last year in Lebanon, where people were getting phones and it was blowing up in their head, and they destroyed a lot of the air capability in Lebanon. This was happening through Israel. So it's clear that Iran is the last link in the Middle East that they're trying to destabilize so that they can use that. This is just a theory, but I really do believe, along with others, that they want to keep encircle Russia and also with Taiwan encircle China, or at least to destabilize BRICS and the multipolar world. And this is going to be very important for people to take into account, because a lot of people are saying, let's bomb the hell out of Israel. Let's get into this war. A lot of people who support Iran or support a multipolar war or support justice. But we have to remember, Iran has been patient since Trump's first time as president. He killed General Soleimani in Iran. He bombed theirs, and it's clear that they're trying to provoke. Then they come back. Now they're bombing these things. And Trump says, I warned them. They shouldn't react. They need to sign a nuclear deal. Trump was the one who moved away from that deal. They don't want a deal with Iran because they want to make it look like Iran is a rogue nation building a nuclear program so that they can have an excuse to strike while Iran is still weak, because their military is getting stronger. They're developing nuclear power. They have missiles. And once they get air defense capability, that's the end of the game. But it's much tougher for them now because Syria is gone and Lebanon's gone. That's why Israel is able to just fly in and do whatever they want. So right now, Iran has had a sort of a measured response. They're bombing certain areas, but hopefully they won't escalate it, because it's clear that the U.S. is using Israel has been using Israel since the founding of Israel with Britain. Britain has always been a sentinel for the West to keep that part of the world in control because of oil, and to keep the world unipolar, which is the Western nations, which is first Britain and America. Now it's just America. What do you think, Afolabi?
Yeah, I agree with you. And like you rightly mentioned, this has been planned for quite some time now. About 16 years ago, they have been planning this. And I remember one of the Israeli Mossad directors then, Mai Dagan, he criticized Netanyahu for planning to attack Iran. He said he felt it was the stupidest idea, and he criticized that particular move. And 16 years down the line, you could see the wisdom in his thought processes. Yeah. He felt a more diplomatic approach was a better way to go instead of attacking Iran. In fact, went as much as saying that the Iran regime was a rational regime, and he felt that attacking Iran would necessarily isolate the United States, the Israeli, and that United States could not go all the way to support the Israelis if there was a full-blown war in the Middle East. So many of these spy masters in Israel had criticized this move. But I don't know, Benjamin Netanyahu's obstinacy, stubbornness, he went ahead with his plan, taking out important top brass military officers in Iran, and it has led us to this. I don't think this augurs well for the Israelis. I think they are banking on support from the U.S., and it's obvious that U.S. too knew about this. The Trump administration was deeply involved in planning and executing this surprise attack. Trump gave prior approval and shared intelligence. He just basically used the peace talks as a smokescreen. So this has US written all over it and Netanyahu. And I think it's a badly miscalculated attack on Iran. And the consequences are far-fetched. They see it as a short-term tactical triumph, but long-term it's going to get very messy, especially if US gets reluctant to join.
Yeah, but you have to remember,
Israel.
This is part of the US's playbook. The 2009 thing by the Brookings Institute. This is when Obama was in office and Hillary Clinton was in office. It started off with the Arab Spring, destabilizing Libya. They tried to do it to Egypt. Egypt is basically a pawn of America anyway. Look at the way they're kicking back people they're not allowing Palestinians to come in. So they've controlled Egypt. They've totally destroyed Libya. Now they've destroyed Syria. Obama tried his best to destroy Syria, but Putin jumped in. So what they now did was cause the Ukrainian war so that Putin focuses on Ukraine. This is what America does, proxy wars. They focus on Ukraine, and that's when Syria fell. So my argument is that the this is part of their playbook. This is their chess. And to be honest with you, they're insane if they think that they can. There's no scenario in which the U.S., even if they encircle Russia and China, is going to come out of that thing without millions of people dying. There's only two ways that war can end. Either Russia, China, North Korea, and those Axis nations win, or the Western Empire will bring down the whole world, which is what I think they will do. This is what white supremacy and Western supremacy is about. It's not that our countries have to do well. It's that only the U.S. and a few of its Western vassals can control the world economy. They don't want to share, even if there's enough to share. So the playbook of the U.S. is leading to a nuclear holocaust. And they're going step by step. They said, take out the Arab Spring. George Bush already took out Iran for them, which was one of the most advanced countries in the Middle East. It was a secular nation. Then they tried to get Syria, but it took a long time because Russia stepped in. Putin punked Obama. He said, you ain't gonna cross that fucking red line. But the Ukrainian war, which is an existential threat to Russia, has now put Russia attention elsewhere. Iran has no friends. Now, Russia and China are helping Iran build its economy, helping them build their military. And it's because of them that Iran hasn't gone buck wild and just sent all of its missiles and killed a lot of people in Israel. And that may not, and even if they did do that, they're still weak enough that the U.S. could come in and put serious damage on Iran and do regime change, which is what they want to do. So right now, Iran's response is, okay, but if the U.S. keeps on like this, what's going to happen? Iran is sending missiles now. But at some point, Iran is going to say, you know what? We actually are now going to create nuclear weapons, because it seems like the only way to stop America from attacking you is to have nuclear weapons. What do you think, Daniel? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with much of what you're both saying. It's a lot to unpack historically and geopolitically, but there are patterns that both of you are noticing that I see as well. I see the Netanyahu government has this pattern, again, of opposing peaceful settlement. And every time something gets close, his back is against the wall on a couple of levels. For one, I would assume that he's in a lot of legal trouble in his own country. Yep. He goes back and forth between being popular and unpopular, and war is the only way he can sustain his career and legacy. So he has to have it be destabilized. And I was noticing this also with Hamas and Gaza situation, that if something would get close, he would spoil it. If there was an agreement to be made, you'd have top leaders assassinated, scientists, academics, government officials, partisans. And analysts were saying the reason for that was because he doesn't want to approach peaceful settlement. And the government's based on this diplomatic goal of normalization with Iran can't be achieved, because that would mean what you're saying, giving up too much power. And I think the one reporter from the Mideast Institute, who's really good, Maween Rabbani, was just talking about the whole foreign policy of the United States and Israel is really designed to work out this way, as you were just suggesting, with the retaliatory strikes even being politicized, scripted, symbolic. Iran knows what they're going to do. Israel knows what Iran will do in retaliation and so on. But that the Palestinians were this defenseless target that was basically used as a warm-up exercise for this, and that he equated the region with an octopus, and the head of the octopus was Iran, and the tentacles, the octopus, the reach of the smaller tentacles would be Yemen or the Houthis or the Hamas or Hezbollah, but the real target is Iran, and Iran can't be done without Trump or U.S. backing or funding or bipartisan support. I'd be interested in what you two both say about how Marco Rubio, on a United States level, I mean, we could talk about the UN's reaction, was pretty slow in terms of there was no emergency call session, which I thought was. You have big articles hanging in the balance that are clearly being violated by Israel. It's an unprovoked attack. But I'd be interested in what both of you think about how Rubio's calling it unilateral, and then Trump stopped the brakes and said, whoa, no, I okayed this. And there's the double talk coming from the United States government with Israel that, is common coin. Biden, Trump, the Democrats and the Republicans see this as their canvas for a long time.
So wait, you're saying that Rubio said it's unilateral. Trump said it's unilateral, in that what? Israel is involved only, or U.S. is involved?
Rubio made a statement early in the bombing when Israel launched the unprovoked attack against Iran. Rubio said it was unilateral and
unilateral, as in it was only Israel.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, meaning Trump has savvy politics, so he's going to distance himself from it until it goes sideways. But if he sees this destructive force being popular or having movement, he'll just say, "Yeah, I also okayed it."
Oh yeah, well, that's a bad move by him, because this is going to come. No matter what, nobody's supporting that attack by Israel unless nobody is really supporting. They'll say that, it's Iran's fault because of the nuclear, but they say we need to have diplomatic means. And here's the thing. It's very clear now that whatever happens in America is not done by the U.S. president. This thing was written in 2009 and is playing to script. The CIA and the State Department and some sort of shadow entities control American politics. So that's why I'm not going to get mad at Trump. He's not the one letting this happen. Trump will get killed if he tried to stop it, or if, in other words, it's not that he's against it, but Trump is there to profit off of being president of the U.S. Obama, all these guys, they're just figureheads. And it's clear that American policy has remained the same since the Cold War started. And they haven't deviated one way, which shows you that these elections, American elections, are just sort of like a choose high school king and prom. It doesn't change the structure of the school you're in. It doesn't change the structure of America. America's structure doesn't change. So if we say we want regime change, because America needs regime change, because if we don't change the regime in America, we're going to head to a nuclear war, or we're going to head to some bigger conflagrations. And also the U.S. is imploding internally, economically. But to say there's a regime change means you're not talking about the Democrats or Republicans. You're talking about whoever it is or whatever group of people write American policy and control this country. What do you think, Daniel? I don't know who they are, but it's definitely not the president, because Trump didn't mastermind. And you've seen Hillary Clinton. She started it by destroying Libya, which was the strongest African nation, strongest African military, and which had the whole area stabilized. Basically wounded Egypt, tried to destroy Tunisia. Then they went with Obama. Yeah, that was under her. I keep forgetting that Obama was the president. It seemed like she was the president. Then they went after Syria, and finally they got Syria at the end of Biden's thing. So you're seeing continuation in politics. So my argument is that America, since Clinton came in, or since Bush Sr. came in, has been, or maybe even Reagan, I'm not going to put Reagan in there, is a neo-con country. Yeah. It doesn't matter whether you're liberal or Democrat, Republican. It's neo-con, and neoliberal and neo-con are actually the same thing. They only differ on some domestic policies. What do you think, Daniel?
Yeah, no, it sounds correct. I'm just saying that Trump is also he does have a foreign policy. He is invested in the foreign policy.
I would argue that Trump's foreign policy is fed to him. They told him kill Soleimani. He's like, okay. Now he tried to. Apparently, they said he stopped them from bombing Iran last time. I don't think he had one. Maybe we're wrong. I think he's under siege. To get elected, he had to bring in what's his name, J.D. Vance. He had to bring in Elon Musk. He had to bring in this money. I don't think he's dictating his foreign policy. And also, he may even like Israel. No, I think he may even like, not that he likes Israel. He's also game for what's going on in Palestine. But I don't think he's in control of what's going on in Iran. Yeah. Do you? I'll go back to you, then we'll go back to Afalabi. You think he's in line with this?
Well, he hired Rubio. Rubio is a dedicated neocon. And
yeah,
go
ahead.
Yeah, and Rubio has aspirations, probably beyond. Maybe he'll run for president or something based on this. I don't know, but the worldview you attribute to Trump perhaps is this, that he is disinterested in ground wars and would prefer détente. But the record, at least in terms of his cabinet, is that he discards a lot of people that are interested in détente, such as Rex Tillerson, and he will appoint routinely Cold Warriors and people of the deep state.
He didn't do that in his first regime. He didn't do that. A lot of his guys, and he actually went against his cabinet in the last time because they told him to attack Iran. See, my argument is that he had a deal. They said the only way you're going to become president is if you hire this cabinet now.
Okay.
A lot of the people he's putting in now are people who were against him 4 years ago. You see what I'm saying? And so Trump, to keep power, he made a deal, just like anything else. He put in a cabinet, and his domestic program is actually the thing that's dearest to him. So my argument is that he doesn't really have a strong look at what he's doing. He's going against the grain with the Russia Ukraine thing, where he's not getting involved in it. But the last bastion of American politics is AIPAC. You're not going to go against their whatever America's policy is in the Middle East. My argument is we don't have proof. My argument is that he brought those people in there and they're focusing on the Middle East. They said it just last week. They're going to totally cut funding for Ukraine, and now they're going to spend that funding, and they redirected missiles and weapons to the Middle East. So my argument is that the Middle East thing that Trump is doing, he didn't author it. He's only continuing it. Because it's been going on at least as far as 2009. It even goes beyond that. I forgot the guy who wrote the book about. Yeah. He's some neocon. He wrote a book about destabilizing the Middle East. This was written even before George Bush became president.
Yeah, you could say that about Obama also, though.
Oh, yeah, same thing. My argument is, all I'm saying is that Trump is nothing exceptional. He's nothing exceptional. And all of a sudden, everybody is choosing him as a scapegoat, and they're not looking at a continued program that America has had since the Cold War, and it hasn't changed. And that's the most dangerous thing. Trump is not the most dangerous person in the world. The most dangerous entity in the world is the State Department, the U.S. military complex, all of this together. That's why I don't even know what to name it. You have the CIA, you have the State Department, you have the Pentagon, all of it. This is an empire like Rome. And they will take out whoever's on top, like Caesar or whoever. Those guys have minimal power. So the U.S. is an empire, and Trump is only the latest figurehead of that empire, and he's not even the most powerful person. Just like with Biden's regime, it was who is it? Who was the Secretary of State? I know the other guy was Defense. Blinken and the other guy, they were running the show, and that's how it always goes. So I don't even know if Rubio's running the show. There's somebody. I don't know what Rubio's what his policy on international was before he became Secretary of State, but there's an agenda these guys have to follow. No, there's a lot of stuff. We need to ask ourselves, who was the person that shot Trump or tried to shoot him? Was it actually a warning? We don't know. When somebody who's running for president almost gets shot in the head, it means that somewhere, maybe either it was staged or somebody was trying to take him out, or it was a sense. When you see something like that happen, when you see that they knew that Biden was set to fall even before he became president, they put in someone who has dementia. They put him in there, and then they choose the worst person they could have chosen for his vice president. They should have put Stein in as his vice president. She would have won. When you see that they undermined Bernie Sanders, you now realize that there's a higher power in America that's running things. What do you think, Afolabi?
Yeah, I quite agree with you. And I find it quite intriguing that Donald Trump himself criticized Biden a lot for being reckless with U.S. resources in supporting Ukraine against Russia. But basically, Trump cannot exonerate himself from support for Israel financially.
No, he's trying to, but he's trying to.
If you look at most of the fighter jets, the F-35s are Lockheed Martin fighter jets. Those were the fighter jets they use for the attacks. A lot of those drones are American weapons. And he's basically doing the same thing. Americans' hard-earned money is being used to support genocide in Gaza, basically. So why now criticize Biden so much then that he was reckless with resources, with his foreign policy and stuff?
You're right.
Sharing of intelligence. America Donald Trump is just using diplomacy as a smokescreen. The planning of this attack, the timing and everything, he was privy to it from the get-go. So that's why I find him sometimes talking from both sides of his mouth, really, Donald Trump.
Yeah. And here's the thing, and I'm going to go to say, we saw what happened to Kennedy, got killed. Once you become a threat, if you come out and you say, we're going to end the Cold War, or you say that if somebody comes out and says, we're going to stop funding this thing in the Middle East, now you're messing with an economic world order, the banking system, which depends on this. And the system that we have in the West with the U.S. dollar system and what's the SWIFT system is an oligarchical system. And there's no way that the president of the U.S. or any other Western nation has enough power to fight these guys. So what I'm saying is that I don't think Obama really wanted to do all those things. I think Hillary Clinton did, to be honest with you. I think Hillary Clinton is a bloodthirsty war hawk. I'm not sure about the Bush Sr. and Bush Jr. I don't know what their thoughts were, but it's very clear. And there's other guys, Wolfowitz. These are the guys that have been pushing American doctrine. So all I'm saying is that Trump comes in. He knows if you're the president of the U.S., you have to be you have to be compliant. You have to be complicit in whatever they're doing. What's the word they call RICO, where you have a lot of people work together to do one thing. Everybody is in the same page. So for you to reach that level, it means you're part of the system. You're part of the game. So obviously Trump is part of the game. But my thing is that he's not the game. And it's very dangerous. All of these years, we saw that when Bush lost that election against Gore. And the Supreme Court gave it to him. And in Florida, they stopped counting. Americans don't realize that was a coup. That was a military overtake of America. So what I'm saying is, I'm just keeping it real. Americans are stupid. They're very stupid. They're looking at Trump as a scapegoat, but they don't even realize that their right to vote was eliminated when Bush won that election, and his brother was the governor of Florida, and the Supreme Court said stop counting the votes. Daniel, is that not a coup or not?
Well, I remember.
That's where all of our trouble started. The Iran war, Syria, that's where it all started. So what I'm saying is Americans lack the ability to realize where the cancer is. And they allow these things to happen. You've had a president who's been killed, Kennedy. You've had Vietnam with Nixon, which was an illegal war. Tapping, then he got pardoned for wiretapping and everything like that. Killed hundreds of thousands of people in Cambodia. Killed 56,000 Americans died in Vietnam. And they've shown the papers that the analysis at the start of that, at the first year of that war, was that there's no way we could win. And they lied to the public. So my thing is, there's a bigger danger. Trump is not the danger. The danger is a systemic empire, which is willing to kill its own people and destroy the world. What do you think, Daniel?
Yeah, I agree that there's the symptoms and the disease, but I also believe that Trump is part of the system. So but I also believe that he's a willing and capable agent of American empire and wants it to be that way. And most presidents do. So yes, he does have this strand of libertarianism within his governance style. He does have this way of presenting foreign policy that looks as though he's trying to avoid the worst in some cases, if they're not in American interest. But he can be realist. He can be unilateral. He can be Bush. He can be Obama. He has killed civilians. He has struck Somalia. He has struck Yemen. He has controlled large portions of this $3 billion a year budget that goes to Israel. He is a part of it. So I don't think he's a character.
My argument that he is, but there's nothing exceptional. But he's the only person anybody ever talks about, as if he's the problem. So my argument is that I'm saying the same thing you're saying, but there's nothing exceptional about him. I'm going to tell you right now. I'm glad
the exceptionality.
All of a sudden, America became bad because of Trump. No, that's you know what that's doing is denying the history of America. America was bad at its inception.
I understand that, but what I think you're talking about is separate from.
We're actually getting off track because we're supposed to be talking about Israel.
Me and you agree, but it's the ruling class. The United States isn't used to ruling class fracturing. The United States is used to ruling class unity, and Trump has taken a sledgehammer to the ruling class. He's breaking it apart. And
isn't that a good thing? Isn't that a good thing?
Well, I mean, not if you.
You sound like you're an oligarch. The ruling class in America is not good for America. They're not good for America. They may look like they're good for Americans. And the ruling class in America, if you look at the numbers of how Black Americans are living, if you look at what happened with, like I said, the Bush election, if you look at what the ruling class in America has been complicit in a document that goes back as far as 2009, which will lead to World War III. There's nothing bad about the splitting of the unit. It may not be good, but there's nothing bad about it.
Well, he's a part of it, is my point, and that he's going to benefit from it if it fractures or not.
Yeah, so, but it doesn't matter. You know, it's almost like saying if somebody kills two thieves, now they can bet because they'll be the only thief. I'm not going to listen to the Democrats and the Republicans malign him because they're the same as him. They're thieves.
Yeah, no, I understand.
So anybody says, "Oh, you voted for Trump, you're an idiot." No, anybody who votes is an idiot because they're all thieves. That's the way I look at it. I don't vote. And I'm proud of it. I'm not going to vote for any one of those guys because for me to vote for them, I'm voting for people who are actually attacking my content. I'm Black. Every African American is African. To vote for any one of those guys is to say that you approve of what they do. To vote for any one of those guys is to say you approve to going straight to a force of war. Me not voting is actually a moral action because more people who don't do it, then the politicians will have to look at us and change their policies.
I would like to ask permission, though. I would like to ask you.
Hold on. Enough people vote so that the politicians know they can continue with their genocidal push forward because they know that they're not held accountable.
There's 11 Democrats running for mayor. I have to vote for at least one of them.
Go ahead. I don't care because I'm going to tell you the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are the two sides of the same coin, and they have caused suffering all over the world, and they have no integrity. They're sitting down there, and they're allowing Israel to do a genocide on earth. For that statement itself, the Democratic Party can go to hell, and the Republican Party. They both can go to fucking hell because they're allowing kids to get killed in Palestine. What are your thoughts, Falabi?
Yeah, while I feel that this nuclear, all we are talking about is about this nuclear program by Iran. Why is there so much pressure on Iran when we know clearly Israel has nuclear weapons, the United States has nuclear weapons? Why can't they just moderate the use of these nuclear weapons? Because Iran has a right to defend its territory as a sovereign nation. Why are they making Iran look like as if their nuclear program is to destroy the whole world?
That Brookings, if you read it, I would have called it conspiracy theory. Read what it says. It says that to build denial to plausible deniability. They say, "Oh, see, we don't want you to build weapons because you've threatened Israel's existence." That was Ajinabad back in the day, who I think was a CIA agent. You threatened Israel's existence, so now you can't be trusted to have nuclear weapons. And then Trump walks away from the agreement 8 years ago. So they know, and the UN is supposed to be the one that says to go and inspect Iran and see if they're making weapons. The UN has not. This is the same thing they did with Iraq. They said Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. It was a lie.
That means this one is a lie.
And then when the CIA told Bush they don't have it, he said, "Nah, fucking just say they do." Do you see what I'm saying? It's just a ploy they're using to justify attacking Iran. What do you think, Daniel? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think it's a great point that you're both making. I agree that Iran's view is, for a long time, it was for power plants and for technological advancement. And I remember Seymour Hersh reporting that Iran had difficulty with basic things in some cases, just keeping airplanes up in the air and creating nuclear power. And it was really trying to create energy and be integrated within the region. And then radicals in the government that are separate from the people of Iran. People of Iran do not want war. People of Iran do not want conflict and violence. People of Iran want working rights, human rights. They want wages, just like everyone else, healthcare, housing. But the Revolutionary Guards, I suppose, and the elites of Iran were creating foreign policy detrimental to the country. But really, in terms of, even if you were to look at it in sheer power politic terms, in terms of legitimacy or power or defense or deterrence, does Iran, let's say they have a nuclear weapon, do they have a right to a deterrence? Do they have a right to self-defense? No, knowing that the United States has thousands, Israel has hundreds, that Russia has thousands. I mean, all of the countries around the world.
Pakistan and India have them too. Pakistan and India.
China,
Yeah,
South
and there's
Africa, India.
So Iran is inside of this donut where they're surrounded by all of the stands and America. I mean, I don't know how many military bases the U.S. has in Iran or around the Gulf, the Strait, the mountain regions where as you both know, the United States has these military installments and the nuclear weapon capability of Israel, of which, as Chomsky used to point out, that been begging the U.S., the big brother, to get involved because it's too big of a bully to take on. That's why Netanyahu loves pulverizing weaker people. And when Iran is the bold next step, I hope it de-escalates quickly. But even in this, I agree with what you're saying. Total propaganda war. Total. Iran poses no threat to Israel whatsoever. And Netanyahu is very dangerous for his own people by the provocation.
Yeah, and let's go back to that 2009 document. It says, it names Bibi. So in 2009, they're naming him almost as if they know he will always be the leader of Israel, because he's their agent. So look at how that guy has come back. We thought his political career was gone, and he came back with Ben Gvir, who's a Nazi, and came back into power. So it shows you that when they made this policy in 2009, and they said that one stage will be plausible denial, and there will be a provocation by Israel, and they named him. So this goes to show you that the CIA, and this goes back to what I'm saying, there's a powerful CIA controls who becomes the leader of just about every country, probably the U.S. too. That's why I say I think we have a facade of democracy. If they can name this guy so far back, Netanyahu, because they would need him. They couldn't have an unstable, they couldn't have an Israel, which is actually democratic, in which somebody who comes into power in Israel goes against American policy. That's what I'm trying to say. So Netanyahu, so if they can name him 16 years ago and he's still in power, nobody believed, even I didn't believe it when he came back in power with that right-wing government. And he has like 1 million lives. The reason he has 1 million lives is because he must be the FBI's their agent. What do you think, Dan?
About what? About
no, Netanyahu is their agent. So what I'm trying to say is that they wrote since 2009 in the Brookings report, where they had the plan laid out on how to destabilize Iran. They mentioned that it would be up to him and Israel to strike, even though he was in power then. But my thing is that it's implying that they believe he's going to be in power until this thing plays out. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And this just goes to show you once again, the CIA or American hegemony determines who is the president or the ruler of Israel. Israel is not a democrat. It's not a sovereign nation. That's all I'm trying to say. I don't even believe America is a sovereign nation. I believe that everything that played out with Biden and Kamala Harris and all this, it's all in plan. And look at what Trump does. He picks off where he left off. He killed General Soleimani in Iran, and now this is part 2. He's continuing it. So it just goes to show that.
I think that's interesting document that you're reading, but I also think part of what we're seeing here is the legacy creation of Netanyahu, because he's getting old. He's at the end of his career, perhaps. Well, he's not young anymore, but he's been in power so long. But he wants to be remembered as the Israeli leader who had this courage and the vision to pacify the adversaries, take on U.S. presidents, challenge the perceived threat. And Iran is a nuclear threat. And that's not history. That's a memory he's trying to forge into the minds of the public, because he's so unpopular, even amongst Israelis.
And this goes back to what I told you: the Israeli citizens are stupid. If I was living next to Iran and he did that shit, I'd be like, God damn it, man! Is a missile going to come and hit my house? Do you see what I'm saying, Afolabi?
Yeah,
because
Right.
some Israelis will be killed because of this, and because of his actions, Israel is unsafe now. If you look at history, Jewish people have always been targeted. They were targeted in Germany. They were targeted during the Crusades because they gave loans to the Crusaders who went there and they were killed. So my argument is that when all of this shit gets bad, people in America will be like, God damn it, because of that war with Israel, I fucking hate Jewish people. Do you see what I'm trying to say? So my thing is that his actions may lead to a backlash on Jewish people and on
of
them.
course.
So if I
Absolutely.
were a Jewish person, I would be fucking angry because I was like, don't put me in this shit because I don't want to go through what we went through again. Because if America's economy tanks, and the West's economy tanks, then they'll now say that Israel is a Nazi nation, the way they said Germany is, and then say Israelites are horrible people. It's all of their fault. We spent all of our money defending them, and then they'll go on them. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why I say if I were a Jewish person, I would not, I would, on the streets of Israel now, they should be protesting and say, kick this guy out no matter what America says. But they've been programmed to hate Palestinians so much that they don't think that they're human beings. Anyway, we got to get out of here. Any last thoughts, Daniel? Yeah.
No, I thank you both for including me. It was a lot of fun, and
Yeah,
I always
come back
learn.
next
I
week.
always learn. Yeah, I always learn from you two. So I watch you two a lot, and I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, you should come every Sunday or Saturday because we need
Yeah,
you.
are you in Nigeria right now?
No, me. I'm in DC or I'm in
okay.
Northern Virginia. Northern
Oh,
Virginia.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, we'll
come
talk.
back. Yeah, well, yeah. Alfalabi and Mustafa, please come to New York sometime soon.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll come visit you.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, nice one. So Dan, you'll be here. We'll have our show on Sundays or Saturdays and Sundays. So we'll try to do this again next Sunday.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
We'll put you on the payroll too. It's $5 a show. All right, thanks. Take us out, Afolabi.
Okay, another brilliant political show from myself.